Salut tout le monde, je m'appelle Natalie, aka Nat's Gateway, et aujourd'hui, je voudrais vous montrer un script bash que j'ai réalisé. Avec ce script, vous pouvez supprimer les résultats inutiles de votre rapport Allure. So, hello everyone. My name is Natalie, and that was a brief intro in French because I am practicing speaking it more because I want to be fluent in the next, I'm thinking, 2 years. So I just need to practice speaking more. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. So basically, what I said was, hi everyone, my name is Natalie, aka Nat's Gateway, and today I just want to show you a bash script that I made. With this script, you are able to delete unnecessary results from your Allure report. All right, so let's get into it. So I've been doing a bit of uh, test automation, and with that, the reporter that I've been using is Allure. So it's one of the, well, according to them, they are the .1 automation test reporting tools. So there you go, straight from the horse's mouth. So yeah, so I'm using WebDriver IO version 8 for the test automation and having Allure as the reporter. So with the Allure reporter, updating the repository of tests. So say for example, a test case is now obsolete and I remove it from the repository. That action alone does not cause the report to update because it has no way of knowing that um, that test is no longer needed, right? So what would need to be done in order to completely wipe the history of that now obsolete test case is you could delete the Allure results and the Allure report folders. And so that would just get rid of all the um, results from previous tries of all the tests. Um, and then you could rerun all the tests again with the updated repository, and that would generate the updated report. However, as you can imagine, if you have a large number of test cases, that's not the most ideal thing to do, especially if you're not removing a large number of obsolete cases, right? So I did a bit of research and found out how to remove these obsolete results without having to throw out everything and rerun all the tests. So basically, I'd have to go into the Allure results folder and delete the JSON files that represent the test cases that I want to delete. However, that can be a bit tedious because each retry, so for example, the 7 times that this test was run, I'd have to find all those 7 files and delete all of them in order to completely get rid of this result here. So as you can imagine, that's a bit tedious to do manually, so hence why I wanted to automate it. And so yeah, I will just show you the script that I made that does that. So currently, the updated spec file just has this suite here. So what I want to do is delete these previous test cases because they're no longer relevant for my situation. So yeah, I will go ahead and show you how to do that. So here is the bash script. So I can just run through a bit of what it's doing. And here we have our function to delete files based on history ID. So based on the research I did, I found out that there's information that I'll show you shortly. So there's a data UID that we can retrieve from the browser, from DevTools, and then we can plug that into our search, find the test case file in question based on that data UID, and then we can extract the history ID from that file and map it back to the original result. So that the data UID relates to the report, but if I want the original result that caused the generation of the report, then I would use the history ID. And then I would delete those files. So the overall gist of the script is that we are looking for files within the Allure results directory that contain the history ID in question. So I'll show you, we have two directories, Allure results and Allure report. The results directory contains the results from the tests that were run, and then the report directory contains the report that we're viewing in the browser. And that report is based on information that's in the results folder. All right, so we have an array here that we're storing all the files that have the history ID in question. We have an if statement. So basically, if the number of elements in the array is equal to 0, then we're going to print in the terminal that no files were found with the said history ID, right? And we're going to return. If we do, however, find files with the history ID, then we'll see files to be deleted, and then we're printing out all the files via this for loop here. Okay, and then I also have it printing out the history ID so that I can cross-reference it if needed. Alrighty, and then once that information is displayed to the user, then there'll be a prompt in the terminal asking if they want to delete these files, and it's just going to list out the number of files that are in the number of elements that are in the files array, right? And if they say yes, then it'll remove the files, and it will say, let them know that the files deleted successfully. If they say no, then the deletion will, if they don't say yes, the deletion is canceled. And so when the script is initially run, this will be the prompt that comes up on the screen. So you'll have to enter the test case file name without the extension. So I'll show you in a bit what that looks like. And basically, this variable here is a test case file. So as you can see, the test case file will be within the Allure report directory, data test cases directory, and then the name of the file will be what the user inputs here with JSON at the end. Okay, so if after inputting the test case name, we're unable to find it, or the script is unable to find it, then it'll say test case file not found, and it'll exit. Otherwise, if the history ID shows up null, so let's say the test case file was found, but then the history ID that we're parsing from that file returns null, then we're going to say that we weren't able to find the history ID in that test case file. Okay, and then here we're calling the function and passing history ID into it. So we're calling the function from earlier, delete files, and we're passing history ID into it, right? And then history ID, as you can see here, we're using node to parse the JSON and to get that history ID from the content. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I'll just do a quick overview. All right, so this is our current report, and I want to delete this test case, this entire suite really. So that suite contains all the tries of this particular case. So let's move that over. Alrighty, so if I go into Handy Dandy DevTools and I select the test case in question, then if you take a look here, we have the data UID. This is the one that is relevant to us right now. So I copy that and I can just search for it here. Okay, so we plugged in our data UID, and the file that is of interest to us is the test case file, right? So in our Allure report directory, which makes sense because this is the report, this is the file that is of interest to us. All right, so this test case is the one that we are interested in deleting because it is now obsolete. So the UID is here, and then we see that there's also a history ID. However, for our Script, we don't have to go through this process of looking this up. I was just doing it for demonstrative purposes. Because if we just run our script, we have our prompt, enter the test case JSON file name. So that is why the test case was the directory that was of interest to us. So as you can see, the file name is simply the data UID that we grabbed from the browser with the JSON extension. So all we have to do is plop in that data UID here, press enter, and then it'll find all the files that contain this history ID, because that is how the files in the Allure Report folder are linked back to the Allure Results folder. So it is telling us here that we have 6 files. Okay, so it's telling us we have 6 files, and as I mentioned earlier, each file is representative of a try of the test. So here we see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 retries, and then the 6th try is reflected on the left side. So in total, we ran this test 6 times, and so that is why we're seeing 6 files in our Allure results directory, right? So do we want to delete these 6 files? And it prints out the history ID in question, and we can cross-reference that with the one that is here in our test case file. So we see that they are the same, and we can safely say yes. Let's delete these bad boys. All right, so now we have 6 files successfully deleted. Okay, so if we were to go, we were to copy the history ID and search. All right, so we're going to search the Allure results directory because that's where we would have deleted those files from. So I'm just excluding the report directory from the search so that it goes more quickly. So if we search for our history ID, we should not see anything. Okay, so our search is finished and we are not seeing the history ID anywhere inside of our Allure results folder. If we got rid of this, we would see it within the Allure report directory, but the report directory is of no use to us when we're deleting these test cases. So you would find the history ID in the Allure report folder because the script isn't deleting anything from the report folder, only the results folder. So that's why when we excluded the Allure report directory, a file with the history ID was nowhere to be found. So that means it worked. So now let's try to get our report to reflect this update. All right, so in order to trigger a regeneration or to trigger an update of the data in the folders, we can just run a simple test. All right, and so I will just run this search test here. Okay, so I just ran our search suite and I caused it to have a failure on purpose, just to switch things up a bit. So I was expecting for this failure here to occur. However, if we do take a look at the updated report, we see that the test case that we wanted to delete has been successfully removed from our report, and so all of our information is now accurate and representative of the current cases within our suites. So I will just pull up the screenshots of those original cases to do a side by side. Alrighty, so if we take a look here, this was the before, and this was the suite and its test case that we wanted to get rid of, including all of the retries. And as you can see here in the updated report that was generated after we ran our suite again, we see that we only have 2 suites in the results. And the one that we wanted to delete, search for video, search for specified video, is no longer present. So thanks to our bash script, we are able to keep our report up to date, up to standard. And yeah, so let me know what you guys think. If you have ever tried doing anything like this before with the Allure Report, how did you approach it? And if you've ever used Bash before, if you have any tips, feel free to let me know. This was my first time making a Bash script, and it was pretty cool. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Merci d'avoir regardé. Vous pouvez écrire vos réflexions dans les commentaires. À la prochaine. Au revoir. Merci.